Hi, I'm Andrew. Welcome to Splash Page. You might have already noticed something a little bit different about today. Sean's not here. Scheduling conflict, so he'll be back next time. But today, I will be solo reviewing episode 9 of Y: The Last Man. So let's get into the penultimate episode of the first and apparently last season of Y: The Last Man, titled Peppers. I don't know why it's titled that. If you figured that out, let me know down in the comments. Maybe I just missed something. Maybe there was some peppering going on, someone adding pepper to food, someone growing green peppers. Was someone named Peppers? I don't know what it was. Let me know in the comments if you know what that was. And there's a couple, we'll go through the main storyline pretty quick. At the end, I've got a couple major questions about this show before it wraps up next week. So let's get started. So let's start out on the Yorick 355 Dr. Allison Mann storyline. They're hanging out on what's basically a prison colony, I guess, at this point, with a bunch of ex-inmates who were only let out of prison because they were able to escape. We find out that these girls aren't such bad people. Or maybe they were, depending on who you ask. For the first time in this show, there's a lot of love interests. We've got Yorick asking 355 to dance. We've got 355 kind of hitting on Allison Mann. Allison Mann is kind of interested in Dominique. Yorick and Sonia get high together, and maybe something is almost going to happen there. So finally we get some actual relationship status. Nothing's happening yet, but there's a possibility that sometime in the apocalypse somebody might have sex. And of course we also have 355 and Dr. Mann wandering around being weirdly abrupt to people for no reason, which is an ongoing thing in the show, and I still don't really understand it. Alright, now we can jump into the Amazon storyline, which starts with Hiro leading an attack on a museum of men, which is kind of an interesting idea. I guess that would maybe be something that if all the men died, people would become obsessed with it, want to reminisce, want to remember about it. It had a very war memorial feeling, that hallway that Hiro was walking down with all the voices of men overlapping over each other. And it looked like for a moment she was kind of reminiscing and feeling bad, and then we realized, no, she was just letting the other Amazons know what the museum's defenses were. They all come riding in on horses like the Amazons that they pretend to be, and just tearing everything apart, which infuriates Nora. This is a fun relationship, the Roxanne-Nora relationship, where Nora is kind of trying to be the power behind the man behind the man, so to speak, right? She's trying to give her opinions and tell them where they're supposed to go, which is what she did in the world before the apocalypse. But Roxanne is having none of it. She's half listening, pretending to listen. She wants big explosions and spectacle. She doesn't want to ride in and surgically steal all their food. So as the women are crushing the corn pops and breaking all the bottles of water, Nora smashes a baseball bat next to one of their heads, makes her stop. She's angry, and she brings that up later. She's been angry for a long time. She's always wanted to be more, but she's never the person in charge. She's always the second in command. And there's a moment later in the episode when her and Roxanne butt heads. Roxanne wants to go off killing all the men that are still alive, these imaginary men that are still living, that she thinks are hiding all over the place. Whereas Nora wants to find somewhere safe to live, somewhere with supplies and food for her child. And she's trapped here because Roxanne has basically become like a mother to Mackenzie. So what is she going to do? She's got to ingratiate herself with these people. So at a certain point, towards the end of the episode, she does admit/pretend to admit that Roxanne was right, that she's always been scared and small and has no vision, and we should go after these men. And hey, let's start with this one that I found, who just so happens to be the president's son and is living on a ranch that has electricity. So it's a safe place to be. It's someone that she knows from a past life. She's kind of still manipulating even when she's pretending to give all of the power to Roxanne. So I love that relationship. And I love Nora in this show. She's so good at twisting with each different turn. Okay, now let's get into the Pentagon storyline where, holy crap, everything's happening all at once. We start with Kimber being distant during a meeting with Regina Oliver and the general trying to take over from Jennifer Brown. We get Regina Oliver screaming at Kimber to get her head in the game, and she needs her on her team. And I don't know where this is coming from, where Kimber is becoming so distant, but okay, she's filing her nails. She finds a piece of glass that she takes, and we don't know if she's gonna kill herself or try to kill Regina Oliver. Turns out she does neither of them. There was no reason to show her grabbing that piece of glass. I don't know what the point of that was, other than to show that she's acting strangely. She gets back to normal when they amber President Jennifer Brown in the war room, starts screaming at Christine, telling her there's no one there to save her. They want her to admit that she knows that Yorick is still alive. They want to get the information out of Jennifer Brown that her son has survived. She's kept it a secret from everyone and sent him off with only one bodyguard, the future of humanity. Basically, the point is either 355 killed those two pilots under Jennifer Brown's orders, or 355's gone rogue and did it on her own. Either way, Jennifer Brown is out of control of 355. She's lost Yorick. She picked a geneticist that no one's ever heard of. And as Kimber screams at Christine trying to get the information out of the person she feels is the most likely to give it up, Jennifer breaks down, takes full responsibility to save Christine, lets them all in on the secret, and they start debating who's going to be the next president and when, and will there be an election, and who will be in charge until the election, which could have been interesting to listen to or not, but it's interrupted because Yorick's ex-girlfriend, Beth, and her ragtag crew of terrorists break into the basement of the Pentagon, set a bomb, and blow up the Pentagon. So the politicians are being rushed off to the war room. They're intercepted by the protesters. They're overtaken by the protesters who cuff them and hide them away. There's a moment where Regina Oliver tries to take control, but realizes she doesn't actually have any information. So Jennifer Brown stays in control for the time being. And as Regina Oliver is spouting off some crazy conspiracy theories, as well as some actual facts that sound like crazy conspiracies when put back to back with what she'd just been saying, she blurts out that President Brown's son Yorick is still alive and takes a bullet right to the forehead and dies on the ground, which was an amazing, accurate shot from a woman who looks like she's never killed a person before in her life. She takes that shot, she kills Regina Oliver, she ends up puking on the ground before regaining her composure and saying, no, show them the body. This will prove that we're tough. But that was just an incredible shot from someone that looks like they probably rarely shot a gun before. The army rushes in, kills a couple more of the politicians, some of the protesters, and by the end of the episode, Kimber escapes with Christine down a hallway somewhere, and Jennifer Brown escapes with Beth, and finally admits to Beth that Yorick is, in fact, alive. So we'll find out where that goes in the final episode of the series next week. So that's the whole story for this week, but here is the issue I have with the show. Two things. One, I figured out what bothers me a little bit about it. And it was perfectly vocalized by Dr. Allison Mann when she accuses a woman of liking Yorick. The woman says, you could have just said hi, and she says, I'm not a hi person. Nobody in this show outside of Yorick is a hi person. Everybody's running around being mean to everyone else for no reason. Nobody's like, that's why I like Nora. Nora is the only one that knows how to interact with human beings. Everyone else has lost their sense of civilization and lost their sense of society and just runs around going, you like Yorick, don't you? Or you killed him, didn't you? Or nobody has any finesse in this world. Now, here's the one thing that they had better explain in the final episode, because as we all know now, we're not getting a second season of this. What is that thing that 355 has been carrying around that blinks red and green for no reason, and then she destroyed it? So her storyline is kind of strange this episode. She has a couple more flashbacks. We still don't know why she's having flashbacks or what her weird injury is. She doesn't seem to have insomnia anymore, or maybe she does. It feels like her breaking that, I'm going to call it a tracker, feels like a break from her past life where they broke her down and now she's separating from them. But why is she separating from them? I don't know what the point of this tracker is, and I really hope she explains it to us in the next episode, because otherwise that's an entire storyline of following around this tracker that after 9-hour-long episodes we still don't really know what it does. If they don't explain it next week, we never get to find out what it is. At least tweet about it, somebody. Tell us what it is. One of the writers, one of the producers. Just let us know what that thing is supposed to be. That's all I want to know from this show anymore. But yeah, that was episode 9 of Y the Last Man. We'll do this again for the last episode of the show. We'll continue doing this for some other shows. I'm probably going to try to pick up some Sandman videos and get those out there when that show eventually comes out. Still don't think there's a set date on it, but if there is, I'll find it out and we'll post it in the comments. But I'm sure you could figure that out too. And until next time, I'm Andrew, and I'll be back with Sean. Later, YouTube.